A new report on the state of wildlife in this province was released today by the provincial government. It was prepared with the help of several conservation organizations, and it paints a grim picture. Large areas of BC wilderness are said to be in big trouble, and more than 1,000 species of wildlife are now deemed to be at risk.
Biodiversity. It's a word that describes the many forms of life in any given area and the differences between them. It is, quite simply, nature, something British Columbia is famous for. And yet, we aren't taking very good care of it.
We were told today that about 40% of the biodiversity or the wildlife that is found in British Columbia is under immediate threat of disappearing from the province.
We were told this at a press conference in Vancouver, where Biodiversity BC, a partnership of government and non-government scientists, released the results of a study on the state of BC's environment.
British Columbia's biodiversity is globally significant because of its variety and its integrity. But without immediate action, it is vulnerable to rapid deterioration.
The good news is that much of this natural legacy is still relatively intact, but parts of it are depleted or under serious stress, and that stress is increasing.
The government's response to the report was to create what they call a conservation framework to prioritize species and ecosystems for conservation action. Sounds good, but will it actually guarantee the one thing most agree is essential to the preservation of BC species at risk? That is, habitat protection.
Notable in its absence is any word about a law that would actually protect the habitat of our threatened and endangered wildlife.
Only 2 provinces in Canada do not have a species at risk law, and BC is one of them. As a result, the Flathead Valley in southeastern BC, an untouched wilderness renowned as the richest area for large carnivores in North America, very nearly became the site of an open-pit coal mine. Fortunately, public pressure forced the government to rethink its plan. It's just one example of what can and does happen.
The laws in BC right now actually prioritize resource extraction, logging in particular, over species needs. You need a law to protect species and their habitat.
And I'm so thankful to the scientists that spent, hundreds of hours working on this report to essentially give us a snapshot on the state of nature. But if we don't actually bring in legislation that will protect the habitat of species, it's almost like rearranging the chairs on the Titanic.